All right, you guys, this is video 2. This is the beginning of our annotations of Jessica Lynch's speech. The truth is always more heroic than hype. So she begins her address, Chairman Waxman and distinguished members of the committee. It's an honor to be with you here today, and I'm grateful to have this opportunity. So that's a very formal address. She addresses the chairman by name, and the committee she uses kind of different diction moves, using distinguished and honor to really heighten its formality. But she is speaking specifically to Congress, and so a formal address is an appropriate address to Congress. So Waxman, the chairman, ends up giving her a little bit of advice. He says, I think you better pull it closer, the microphone, and she says, is that good? Yeah, that's good, thank you. So right here, even though that's not part of the actual text of the speech, it is important for her character, right? So right here, both in the video, you can click the link, and the text, we can see that Lynch being told she needs a microphone. Yeah, okay, all we can kind of extract from this is that Lynch maybe does not seem to make formal speeches often. And so she's maybe a little bit, we could pull, maybe she's a little bit inexperienced, especially speaking to so formally and to Congress. Then she begins to show that she understands the values of her audience. She says, I have been asked here today to address misinformation from the battlefield, meaning that Congress has asked her to speak to this, so she knows exactly what they value. They value to hear misinformation from the battlefield. Quite frankly, her ability to speak honestly, it's something that I have been doing since I returned home from Iraq. So this speaks to her credibility. She's been speaking about misinformation since she returned home. Maybe this is a long time. She gave this in 2007, we don't know when she's joined yet, but we can tell it's at least 4 years. Then she says, I lived in Iraq. I have family and friends fighting in Iraq. She has personal experience. She still has other loved ones still fighting in Iraq today. So it's current. It's fresh. Her experience and hearing from her others, friends' experience is all fresh. Then she kind of taps into her character. My support for the troops is unwavering, is strong. I am a strong supporter of the U.S. troops. I believe this is not a time for finger pointing, so nothing to blame. She's here only to speak honestly and share the truth. Then she shows a little bit of values of maybe her audience. People try to discount the realities of my story, including me as part of the hype, right? So she's saying people try, maybe she's kind of been fighting to have her story heard. Maybe it's unheard. Maybe some people don't believe it. And so because it counters her character, she's aware of this. And she uses this to then shape her approach. So she really gives a lot of character right now, but maybe that's why she leads so heavy with the credibility, because she's trying to discount what people think. My experience has always caused a personal struggle. That's a diction move right there, but it's contributing to her ethos. She's saying, even though she's saying, and this could sound like credibility, it's not specific. So she's saying, I was giving opportunities not extended to my fellow soldiers, and I embraced those opportunities to set the record straight. Meaning she's not really telling us what those specific opportunities were. So I'm as the reader audience curious what they are. I've been doing so since 2003, and it's something that I imagine I will do for the rest of my life. That is where we get that 4-year number. I've answered criticism. I've had injury, all because I have a story to tell. So Lynch is saying, she's endured criticism, injury, struggle, all to show her truth. So she's saying she has endured, struggle in order to get her truth heard. Usually that would make us think, it must be true, right? Otherwise, Why would they be doing this? Why would they be enduring so much? So people would know the truth. So it's sounding like she herself values truth, and she's committed to give her true story. Now the yellow, we're seeing a little bit of credibility. Part of kind of her resume or her resume. Now, I was a soldier, so she was a soldier, and it was the July of 2001. If you were alive in 2001, you know that this is just months before 9/11, the 9/11 attacks, right? Because that all happened in 2001. So just before 9/11, I enlisted in the Army with my brother. Maybe this is a family who values the American, the troops. We had different reasons to join, but we knew that we wanted to serve our country. So her character, I loved my country or my time in the Army, and I'm grateful to the opportunity to have served the country in a time of crisis. That's likely a wink to the 9/11 attacks, right? Then she goes on to list her credibility. But what she does in this list is it actually builds to her character. So she's building a character of commitment, that she's a committed person and committed to her service by listing these true examples. So it's kind of like logos builds to the pathos or ethos of a character. So she was deployed in 2003. She was part of a 100-mile convoy into Baghdad. She drove a 5-ton water buffalo truck. She's strong. She worked with the heaviest vehicles. She's strong physically and mentally capable. It took hours to drive. She's very patient. She decided to split. So she's kind of using some strategy here. So all this in pink is what I, the audience, have extracted to build to her character. And I've done this from her credibility. So you see here how sometimes a list, the audience can infer a few others. And then ending with this simple sentence or this simple phrase, I will never forget, shows how memorable and somehow lasting what she's about to say is going to happen. So what's about to happen is the truck broke down. Oh, dang it. And we had to pick up 2 other soldiers from a different unit to get them out of harm's way. So she cares, right? And even though it's not her team, she still wants to support her fellow U.S. soldiers. Right? That shows commitment. Maybe a commitment to care. And then again, whoa, we see a lot of yellow. This is going to be a lot of credibility. So we have credibility, credibility, credibility. All these are building and maybe kind of add to this trauma that she's endured. So you can read through it. I hope you do. I hope you watch the video too. But she's saying she was hit by a rocket grenade. 3 people were killed on impact. Her best friend died in the hospital. She was also taken to the hospital. 11 soldiers total died from her unit. 8 others were taken prisoner, right? All this, if all this were to happen in like a single day or a couple weeks span, I'd say, yeah, she's having a lot of trauma, right? Next kind of paragraph list. She lists her injuries specifically. It could be like logos, but because it's supporting what she's speaking to, it's building her ethos. She was unable, as she woke up, weeks later, she was unable to move below her waist. Was she paralyzed? There was nerve damage. She had a 6-inch gash on her head injury. She had a spine injury. Her lumbars, 5th and 6th were overlapping. She had an arm injury. The humerus was broken. That's the big bone in your arm, the one that connects your shoulder to your elbow. So that's the big one. Oof. And I would think that that's quite painful. Right? Her right foot was crushed. Oof. That diction move, that was probably that was probably serious, but it also shows the severity. It was a very severe injury. All these combined continued. Her femur was shattered. That's the worst break in the human body. That's the bone that connects the knee to the hip or to the pelvis. It's the largest bone in your body, and it takes the longest to heal. So if you happen to know that, you know that maybe this was a long injury, and that maybe this took a lot of time to heal. That also could speak to her ethos, right? That not only was she traumatized, she's experienced a lot of pain. And the Iraqi workers in the hospital were, unfortunately, it was too antique and inappropriate medicine received from them, right? It was medicine from the 1940s, and it was also made for a man, so made for the opposite gender. Let's do one more. She continues to endure hardship, right? She was sexually assaulted. She still today has current bowel, bladder, and kidney problems. She has nerve damage, right? The fact that she's unable to move below her knee or waist. She's required to wear a brace. So she's still enduring. And she's often disoriented, immobile, and helpless. We'll continue in the next video.